From a speakeasy to a brothel and even a Catholic church retreat, Camp Wandawega is a hidden gem in southeastern Wisconsin, and its most recent owners are dedicated to breathing new life into this historic place with a quintessentially American past. Stephanie Rodriguez takes us to the lake no one has ever heard of in our Sunday morning spotlights.
In its almost 100 years, Camp Wandawega has been a getaway for mobsters, bootleggers, Johns, Catholic priests, and families looking for summer fun.
When we were little kids, I think we used to fantasize about, when we grow up, maybe we could all buy a little cottage and build little cottages up on the hillside, and we could all stay together forever.
But for David Hernandez,
it never occurred to me as a little kid that someday we'd be able to buy the whole place.
It's always been a home away from home.
I thought it was like a little black bear crawling up.
Hernandez frequented the camp in the late 60s when it was a refuge for Latvian Catholic priests fleeing the Soviet invasion, eventually turning into a summer retreat for Latvian families.
Just to be able to get out of the city and have a place like this, it was just really amazing for a little city kid from Chicago.
Under the church's ownership for over 40 years, it flew under the radar.
When you're here, you feel like you're way up in the Northwoods.
Just one of the reasons Hernandez and his wife, Teresa Surratt, call Wandawega the lake no one has ever heard of.
You know what's crazy is the locals don't know we're here. We're 100 years old.
The fact that it's this tiny little lake that no one ever heard of, and it's on, the edge of a dead-end road, on the edge of the woods.
Hernandez once told the priest who ran the camp he'd be first in line to restore it.
One day we got the phone call and he said, okay, if you're serious, now's the time.
It's probably the biggest reason that we bought Camp Wandawega, so that we could save it. It was for sure going to be pushed over and turned into a gravel yard or a trailer park or something.
And they did save the camp, keeping its unique features.
The bunkhouse, it's a modern building in a 100-year-old shell. It was built for the purposes of being used as a house of ill fame, a body house of ill fame, as the newspaper said. The Madam Anna Peck ran this and used the bedrooms for the women that worked here.
Orphan Annie Peck making headline news in the 40s for her brothel and illegal sales of mob liquor.
When I tell people about the history, that there's everything here from criminals on the run, contempt of court, multiple prohibition padlocks, multiple federal raids, a murder, kidnapping, suicide, like so many things that happened here over the years that people look at me and think I'm crazy. Our imaginations ran wild when we were little kids. We always thought that, this place with prohibition past probably had some amazing stories, but the stories that we made up were nothing compared to the reality that we learned over time.
From ladies of the night to a grisly murder-suicide crossing state lines. A jilted suitor slays woman, kills self. The story of Johnny Sweetheart, a Chicago man who killed his lover in the city, kidnapped a friend, and took his own life in Wandawega while on the lam in 1942. And all of Wandawega's history fueling the couple's passion for the camp.
It's been a labor of love. Emphasis on labor.
They've owned the 25-acre property since 2004.
For the past 18 years, we've been spending every free dollar from our day jobs and minute that we have available here, fixing it up, saving it.
Rehabbing.
Some of the white wood came from old Wisconsin dairy barns.
And reviving its buildings.
All the windows came from a home that was being demolished in Illinois.
While adding their own.
All the odds and ends are just flea market and thrift store finds.
Like this tree house, dedicated to Surratt's late father, Tom, who christened the camp with a swing tied to its branch.
When he passed away, the tree died also. And so, in spite of the fact that the limbs were starting to fall and the tree was getting ugly, Teresa wouldn't let us cut it down.
And this cottage, once belonging to Surratt's grandmother, traveled 350 miles from central Illinois to Wandawega.
It was so meaningful to be able to save a piece of my childhood and bring it back here and then bring it back to its glory days.
Finding beauty and purpose in long abandoned buildings has kept them on this journey of preservation.
One of our biggest passions that David and I have, and one of the reasons we have Camp Wandawega, is because we love saving old buildings. We love moving old buildings, we love restoring old buildings.
And while they continue to grow the camp, they're keeping its traditions alive.
We did a handshake deal with him. We said as long as the will of the people wants to continue to have Mass here, we'll continue to sponsor it and support it.
Including Mass in the grass.
The Latvian volunteers started making church pews and added the kind of the altar as well, and now it's been going on since the 1960s, so it's a tradition going back over 50 years.
On any given Sunday between Memorial Day and Labor Day, up to 200 people might be outside enjoying Mass on site.
We do joke sometimes on this side of the chapel where I'm sitting now, we'll have folks drinking Bloody Marys, and on that side we'll have folks saying Hail Marys. Camp
Wandawega is on the National Register of Historic Places, and visitors can rent a stay in the couple's one-of-a-kind American getaway, learn about its extensive history, and enjoy its gorgeous views.
There's so much amazing history, so much amazing nature here that I think we sometimes take for granted. We're trying to get more and more people excited about embracing the cottage vernacular, embracing the simple architecture, preserving the things that can still be preserved rather than just pushing things over or completely gutting things. So I think that's part of the story that we try to tell here too, is get people to really appreciate the historical assets and the natural assets of the place.